lesson learned for me. I didn't realize that you could hold a house hostage. Like in my mind, if someone's signing a buyer's agency agreement with you, or if someone's signing a listing agreement with you,
Yeah.
I always thought that if someone wanted to fire you, they could fire you, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
so now it makes me think a little differently. Like, hi there, welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Bobbie Jo. Today I have a special guest. She is from Skyline Properties also, Miss Zanika. We actually have been competing for quite a long time on the top producer ranking at Skyline Properties.
We have.
Yeah, that's when I first met you, was when we were at the table. You and I and Rachel are always like right there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's so funny. That is true.
That is very true. And unfortunately, it seems like that's the only time I get to spend time with you is at the top producer luncheon.
Yes.
So make sure you save room for me at your table if you get there first.
You got it.
And
I
vice
got
versa.
your spot. Yep.
Thank you so much. Do you have any idea where you ranked this year?
I have no clue. Do
No
you
clue.
know?
I'm thinking it has to be number 2 or 3.
Okay. I don't know, but they said they're going to let us know on Thursday, so I'm waiting.
All right, we'll see.
I'm excited.
I remember one year was 2 years in a row. It was 4, 5, and 6, and it was you and I and Rachel
Yes.
in alternating spots. So hopefully she'll be there too.
Yeah, I know. And I think we lost one agent or something like that went to a different company, so that kind of
Frees up a space. Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's go, baby.
Let's get in there.
2026 is going to be a great year.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
It seems like it is already. It's already turned out so great. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun this year.
Well, I'm sure you have had some amazing stories of I don't want to say shit shows, but I'm going to say it. Shit shows you had to work through with other agents.
Yes.
At Skyline Properties for the top producer or for the uprising stars last year. They asked me to come speak. And I did a speech on how to not be a crappy agent.
Yes.
And I did that because I feel like sometimes real estate agents get a bad rap. And it's because of the agents who, in my opinion, are crappy.
This is true.
Yeah, I feel like some people are in it and it's not for the right reasons, or they're not really there to service people or take care of people. They think real estate's a quick get rich scheme, and it's not.
And it's definitely not. A lot of hustle, a lot of heart.
Yes, a lot of long hours.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards.
A lot of tears. Early in my career, about 10 to 15 years ago, I was working with an agent, and when I went to ask her for the information on the septic, if she has had the RSS done yet or the O&M done, and she's like, the what?
Oh, boy.
And I was like, oh, well, it's your job to make sure you get that done. And she got mad at me. She's telling me, don't you tell me what my job is. And I have 2 kids and I do this and this and this and this and this. I'm like, but your person hired you as their listing agent to know these things,
Yes.
So in Pierce County, you have to have, this septic inspected and blah, blah. Well, anyhow, from there on, it was a really trying time with her.
Yeah.
And she had a difficult client, I would say from the beginning. Like, he was a little high strung. He had so much stuff. He had to move because his health was deteriorating. But it's like one of those properties when you pull up and it has stuff just everywhere.
Yes.
So I had to nurture a lot of it for my client's sake going through the process. But that agent and I would probably call her 15 times, before I could ever get a hold of her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And text and emails, and then finally she would answer, and it was because she was working another job, or she was doing this, or she was tired, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But my son happened to be graduating during the time that was closing, and we took him to Mexico for a vacation, and it was set up where we were supposed to close before we left, and then right before we left, we had to sign a 3-day extension, or I think a 5-day extension, because he didn't get all his stuff out. So the moral of the story is I'm landing in Seattle, my phone's going off, and it's the title company saying the other agent hasn't had them sign the new seller's disclosure, and we cannot close until we get that signed.
Oh, boy.
And we can't get a hold of her. So then, as we're making our way to the car lot to get our car, I'm trying to get a hold of her. She's not answering my calls, text either. And so they call escrow back and said, is it possible for me to do it? If I get her permission, that I'll do it for her. Is it something? Can you email it to me? I'll go home and print it. And mind you, I'm just flying in from Mexico.
That's insane.
I'll get home and I'll go drive the 45 minutes to go get her seller to sign it and get it to you. But I wasn't doing those things for myself or for her seller. I was doing them to make sure that this transaction was going to close for my clients, right?
Yeah.
And so when I text her, like, mind you, she's ignored my 2 phone calls and my 2 texts. When I text her and said, hey, escrow said that they could email it to me and I can print it and I'll drive it out and have your seller sign it if you're okay with that, because obviously we can't do those things without permission. But she instantly came back, oh, yes, thank you so much. You're a godsend. So I'm like, oh, you were just ignoring my phone calls before.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Pretty much.
So we literally came home. My husband grabbed the luggage out, and I walked into the office and printed it and got back in my car and drove there. But the funny thing is, when I was there, he was looking at the disclosure, and he was telling me, I never agreed to pay 3% commission.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, well, unfortunately, that was a conversation you had a long time ago with your listing agent, and now we're at the closing. So either you can hold up closing again, or chance not closing, or you can sign, because all of this, what you're signing, is agreeing to all the paperwork we've already filled out.
Yes.
Like you that was an agreement in a conversation you had a long time ago,
many weeks ago.
Yes.
At this point. Yeah.
So thankfully he did sign it, but the moral of the story was, though, that she was not doing her job.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Is she still in the industry?
No, I haven't even looked her up. Like, I just move on.
I know. I do too. I'm guilty of just moving on, but at the same time, every now and then I'm like, are they still around?
I would wager not, though, right?
Yeah, I would think. Yeah, for sure.
She was working for a smaller company. I know that. And at the time, Redfin was just starting. And the company's motto kind of reminded me of how Redfin worked, too. Like, this is like the least amount of work.
Yeah, that you can put in. Exactly. Yeah. Well, working at Redfin, I ran into that a lot. Mostly I was on the managing side, so I was always dealing with the agents that were not the best agents. And so having those conversations with other brokers complaining about the Redfin agents made it so difficult, to where every day I was just like, why am I doing this?
I didn't realize that you started at or came from Redfin.
Yeah. So I was at Skyline, and I left. So I started at John L. Scott. Left John L. Scott, went to Skyline, and then left Skyline and went to Redfin. And I was at Redfin for about 2 years, and quickly learned that was not a fit for me, and then came back over. So I was a listing agent for Redfin for about a year, and then they asked me to get my managing broker's license. So I did. I went through that process, got my managing broker's license, and I managed their Tacoma and Olympia team. And there was a lot of new agents on that team, and so it was really tough. From there, then came back to Skyline.
Okay, so knowing you have this intel now, I have some questions for you.
Yeah, go for it.
So their business model at Redfin, so if a person calls and just asks someone to open the door for them, I understand that person is not allowed to answer questions about the house. They just open the door.
Correct.
And why?
That's their showing agents. So they're associate agents is what they call them. So they're there they're kind of like an Uber service. They're just they're paid per door for inspections, for walkthroughs, for any kind of showing tours, things like that. And so they're not there. It's not like their license is restricted and they can't answer questions. It's just that they're not there to build a relationship with the clients. Therefore, they don't do any legwork to find out any questions that the client may have. And so it's up to them to pass that along to the other agent that is actually going to be writing the contract and representing that buyer.
But it just seems like such a disservice to me. Like,
absolutely.
That you show up and if this person asks, is this hot water tank electric or gas? And you can't even answer that question. That seems like a disservice.
Absolutely it is. Yeah. So what I find is that there were some that were associate agents that were very good. They've been agents before, but kind of stepped back from being a real estate agent because they had kids or whatever, and they were just at a different point in life. And so those are the agents that would actually go through the MLS, answer some of those questions. It's not that they were told they couldn't, it's just that they wouldn't, because they were newer agents when they're associate agents. But the ones that you can tell were in the business for a while, at some point that just kind of stepped back and became an associate agent, they knew where to get those answers. And so they weren't there as order takers, I guess you can say, versus the other ones that were there just as order takers. They were just there just to open doors.
Well, I started making all those reader boards in the houses now.
Yeah.
Because I want it to be like I'm walking through the house explaining things to a potential client, right?
Yes.
So, and sometimes it could be the most small thing, but if you have a first-time home buyer or someone who's never had a wood-burning fireplace,
yes,
they don't understand, or if it's gas or propane or
an insert or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I label the heck out of the houses, and I also will laminate them now. So if I have a seller who lives there still, they can take the opportunity to take it down, and they can just put them back up before showing if they bother them. But I just try to solve all the problems I can up front.
Yeah.
Yes.
It almost comes down to that, because even when it's not a Redfin agent, it could just be a newer agent who just doesn't know to point things out. And so those are helpful. Well, I personally like them.
I love them too. I feel like, again, going back to our job, like it's our job to try to be the most educated about that when you go to a property, right?
Yes.
Like, so if I'm doing showings, it's hard if you have someone coming in from out of state and you're trying to read up on like 15 different houses.
Oh, yeah.
That's a challenge. My brain can't hold all that information anymore, but
For sure.
But it is good to go through it and understand, does it have an HOA? What does the HOA include? Like,
Yes.
because they're going to ask you those questions while you're there.
Yeah, they are. And I've gotten to a point, because I work with a lot of military, so a lot of people that are PCSing here, they know nothing about the area. I do the same thing. I try to get ahead of it, but there's a lot of times I just leave there with a list of questions, just because I know there's going to be so many things I just cannot. Just like you, I can't retain that kind of information when you're moving on to the next thing right after you're done showing. So
for sure,
a struggle.
So what's been one of the more difficult cases that you worked with another agent?
Another agent. Okay, so I've had a few over the last 22 years. But the last one that I just had actually just happened not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, where a buyer, my buyer was PCSing here. They're moving to, it's in Yelm. And unfortunately, the seller, I don't know if it's a combination of seller, agent, just like you, or if it's just an agent that just was so disconnected. And so he didn't tell and I later found out that he was only been in the industry for about a year. But at the end of the day, he didn't tell them that they were closing on a certain day. And so they knew they were going to close, but they didn't know they had to give possession to the buyer that day. So reaching them the day before closing, when I'm doing my walkthrough, and I told him, I was like, it looks like your seller's not moving out of this house. Have you followed up? I could not reach this guy.
Oh, no.
I was like, where are you? Like, and he just was like, when I finally got him on the phone the next morning, he was like, I had no clue that they weren't in the process of moving out. I will do what I can to get them out of there. But just so you know, I don't think we're going to be able to give you keys until like Sunday. And this was Thursday. I was like, great, great. So then I walked through the house to do my walkthrough, and there's mold. They started moving things out, but there was mold all up the walls in the closet. There was a toilet leaking. There was just several things. Trim was removed. I'm like, I don't even know why they would remove trim during their move out, but they did. And so getting him to work with me on this stuff, I have a client that's PCSing. Their household goods are coming. They need to put their stuff somewhere, and I am just stuck. So I just got over there and just busted my butt to get it done for them and did what I had to do. We had the house professionally cleaned. I did everything I could possibly do.
I love that. They give you a high five because that's exactly what you should do.
Yes, that's what it takes.
Yes.
I mean, and this is not about me. This is about my client
Yes.
moving here and having a home to come to. You know, it's already a stressful move across country.
Yes.
With kids in tow and the whole 9 yards. So we made it happen. They are now in their home and happy for about a week now. So
we had that happen on our end too. It was funny because within, I would say, a month's time, it happened where I was representing the seller, and then it happened where I was representing the buyer.
Oh.
The buyer happened first, but we were supposed to be closing on Friday. And so on Thursday, I was flying somewhere. So my assistant went to go take a basket over and meet the agent, and we were going to hide the keys together.
Yeah.
Well, my assistant called me back, and she's like, they're not going to be out of here. Like, she's like, there is no way. And so I spoke with the buyers, and they're saying to me, like, you know what, we weren't planning on moving in until Monday anyways. We can just give them till Monday.
Okay.
You know, really kindly, right? So then I'm talking to the other agent. I'm like, well, can you be out by Monday if we give them some more time? And so she's, at that point, all happy go lucky. Oh, yes, no problem, Bobbie Jo. Yes, everything's great. Yeah. Oh, well, then on Sunday, when I'm flying back, I reach out to her and I ask her, hey, how's the move out going? Have you checked on your client? And she's like, I have no idea. I'm like, you have no idea? Have you gone back by the house? And she said, he was a very difficult client and contractually undone.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, so you don't plan on going back out to the house? Nope. Like, and that's your answer. Contractually, I'm done. That's your answer.
Wow.
I know. I was mortified. But anyhow, so I got up maybe at 5 o'clock in the morning and went over. And thankfully, he was out of the house, but he left it in disarray. Like, he still had dirty dishes in the sink and the dishwasher. The pantry was full of crap.
Of course.
All of the gross things in his bathroom he didn't want were still in there.
Oh, yeah.
So I called my assistant, and I'm like, divert. We're going to change plans for today. I need you to meet me here, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to get out all the stuff that we could. And she was on the phone trying to get a cleaner over.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just trying to make it right. So when I talked to my buyers, though, I'm like, hey, this is the situation, but this is how we're trying to solve it for you.
Yes.
And they appreciated it. They were very gracious. But to the other agent, though, she had said to me at one point too, like, I couldn't help it. He couldn't afford to get a U-Haul or something. I'm like, well, then why didn't you rent a U-Haul for him?
Yes, do
And
what
then
you need to do.
I sent her designated broker an email, and he basically said, I stand behind my client. And you don't understand, he was a difficult client. And I'm like, well, I've worked with difficult clients too,
Oh, yeah.
but it doesn't mean that you don't do your job.
Right.
Yeah, our problem solve. I think that's a
yeah.
lot of our job is to be problem solvers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And work with one another.
Yes.
Like, I mean, she should have been over there with you, getting things done. I'm so sorry. Let's just make it happen. And for everybody.
Yes.
You know, you've been paid at this point. Like, at least try to help us keep these things
Yes.
in motion and everyone happy. So it's very sad, but I feel like we run into that more often than not these days.
Well, I think for lenders and for real estate agents, I think that's where you start to see everyone's true colors, or when issues happen after the closing, after you're paid. Like, where do you answer phone calls or return people's phone calls? Do you show up for your clients after the closing? But
Right.
our motto, and I'm sure yours too, is that you want to be someone's real estate. You want to be their family realtor for life, right? It's not just one transaction.
Absolutely.
The one transaction it's great, but you want to be it next time too.
Yes. And that's so funny because that one transaction, one and done is pretty much a Red Fence model. That's what they did. So that's why it was always difficult for me, because it was always like, we've moved on. We've been paid. Everyone's closed. Let's move on. And I'm like, no, coming from the, transactional side, or the more relationship side of real estate, where I just wanted to make sure everyone's happy and everyone feels great about the home they just spent a ton of money purchasing, and so it was always tough. And I work with so much military that it's really tough for me to just walk away from them, knowing that they have a million other things on their plate that,
Oh, for sure.
are just always in the back of their mind. So
I don't work with military as much as you do, but I feel like the chances I have worked with the military, like I actually came home one time with my husband and said, there's a chance this family is not, if they don't move into their house, they don't have a place to go. They've already exhausted all their funds, and they're still stuck on their pay from college or from another area where the cost of living was a lot less, but their pay has not caught up with them here.
Yes.
And so I'm like, what do you think about letting someone stay in our spare room? Because we have 2 spare rooms now. Our kids are gone.
Yeah.
And at first he's like, wait, who is this?
I've been there. Yes. I've been there.
But you feel for them, right?
Yes,
You're like,
absolutely.
We have space. There's no reason that they should be staying in a really crummy hotel.
Yes.
Like,
I know. And like stressed about it too, financially. Like, it's just not fair.
No, we just want to solve their problems.
Yes, I know. They're my problems now.
Exactly.
That's what I always say. It's my problem now. So.
Yes. Well, in that scenario, though, my husband, he got on board and he was willing to let them stay with us. But
Nice.
the closing went through fine. But
Oh, it all worked out.
the poor guy, he gets roped into a lot of things.
Right? Oh, mine too. Mine too. Oh,
How many times has your husband done dump runs for you?
Oh, all the time. We just did them 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and I had one where just recently where the guy left a bunch of stuff in the garage, and I was like, can you help? His van was still there and he left the van unlocked. I was like, can you help me put the stuff in his van so that all he has to do is come and just grab his van and leave? And so he's like there doing all the grunt work. Yeah, we do a lot of that.
my husband, he's there a lot too. Or my husband, thankfully, he is a EL1 electrician.
Yes.
So I'll show him panels a lot, or I'll show him inspection reports and say, like, is this really as big a deal as this inspector's making it sound like? Or, should we be getting a second opinion?
Yes.
And
100%.
It's nice to have that in your pocket.
All the time. So my husband is an electrician as well. So
you know exactly what I'm saying.
Yes. Oh, I do. So I'm always like, what do you think of this? Or there's been times where he's just got his headlamp because there's no lights and he's just sitting there dinking around with the electrical panel trying to figure it out for the client. And
or
for
solving
sure.
GFI problems.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
I feel like that's the most common electrical problem right now is GFIs. Which
Yes.
I learned from my husband, you only need to have one GFI per circuit or per line.
Yes.
But the inspectors don't understand, like, if there's not a GFI, clicker in the kitchen, it's not protected. But my husband's always like, it is protected. It's on the same line. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. You only need to trip one and the whole thing's going to go out.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Yeah. I've been there.
Oh, that's too funny. What a small world.
It is. I know. That is crazy. I don't know how we've never had this conversation.
I know. Do you guys have a self-starting generator at your house, or can you start a generator at your house?
So actually, we were just talking about this because we used to have a transfer switch at our old house, and then we moved over to our new home, and he never installed a transfer switch. So we do not have a self-starting generator, only because we don't have a lot of power outages at our new house. So
that's lucky.
I think we've had one, but he's hooked up my neighbor's generator. He's done my neighbor's friend. He just did last week. So yeah, we're constantly going with that.
So then say, because all of our friends our friends and or like you're saying, neighbors have been are so lucky to be able to start their generators. My husband recently went hunting. He hardwires ours into our panel box.
Yes, that's what we do.
So no one could come over and do it for him, and I couldn't do it. And he was gone hunting during the big power outage this year. And so I was home without power for 3 days. And so I'm like, before you go hunting next year, we are going to have a quick connect, because I had 3 guys call and say, can I hook up your generator? And I would have loved to say yes. But unfortunately I couldn't, because I wanted to blow my house up.
Right. Because he did some like Jimmy ringing and like MacGyver stuff over there.
Exactly. Exactly. Which no one else can do it.
Like
I want a connection where you just switch and plug it in.
And that's it. Yeah.
Like before he goes next year, like I'm not gonna let him buy his hunting license until it's taken care of.
I feel like they're like hairdressers who have just like, I do hair all day, that I'm not gonna bother with my own hair.
It's no fun. It's no fun doing it at your house.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what favors do I owe you to get this done?
Right. Exactly. For sure.
Knowing my luck, I'd be like painting the garage floor or something.
Yeah, anything. Yeah,
I would do that to get a generator hooked up.
Just to get it done. I know, because when it goes out, it's the most inconvenient thing ever.
Oh, it is. It was horrible, and we were getting cold. Actually, getting cold. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, as not long when it was so cold, we were getting cold. Like a long time ago, he was around actually starting all our friends' generators and helping them all out. And I was being funny when we came down the stairs. I was like, oh, the kids and I are headed to the YMCA. He's like, why? I go, oh, because it's a warm station where you can go stay warm. Yeah. He's like, geez. And he goes and starts our generator.
Yes, please. Because I'm freezing in this house. Yeah.
It's all good, honey. You keep saving the neighborhood.
Yeah, right. Everybody else but us.
So I have another interesting story to share with you. This was recently, and I did not realize this until this happened.
Okay.
But I have a past client, and I'm actually unstaging a house, and she calls me and asks, can you look at my friend's listing? She just listed her house. I think it's horrible. It's in Linwood. And so this client who called me she lives in Nashville now, but I absolutely love her. Her name is Dorothy, but I absolutely love her. So I look at the listing. I'm like, yeah, you're right. These pictures look horrible. It's a $1.2 million house. The pictures look atrocious. Like, looks like they're taken with a cell phone. And then she's telling me that it says it has a wine cellar, and it doesn't have a wine cellar. And it's saying it's 4 bedrooms, but it only has 3 bedrooms. And I'm like, well, this person clearly is misrepresenting your client. And if I were them, I would fire them, and they should hire a different agent. And so she goes and to talk to her friend. Life goes along. Well, like a week later, the friend calls me and said, is there any way that you would represent my house? And I look it up. I'm like, well, it's still showing active. So you need to end your relationship with this other agent first before I could talk to you about that. Well, she sends me these emails. She's like, I've been trying to fire this agent. And she sent a very formal email saying, when you had someone come and take pictures with a cell phone, the pictures look horrible. I even told you I had my own professional camera. You're welcome to use it. You didn't. And then she's saying, like, these are the key points in the listing that were not correct. I don't feel comfortable moving forward with you. Please release me from this listing. Well, then I called Jeff at that time, our designated broker, to say, what does this person need to do? Like, if someone wanted to fire me, I would let them go right away, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you don't want to work with someone who doesn't want to work with you.
Absolutely.
Right? And also, I think in those situations, we can learn, right? Like, we can learn valuable lessons. Like, okay, I messed up right here, but how do I do it better so I'd never do that again?
Going forward, absolutely.
Well, anyhow, a couple of days later, I tell her the numbers, and she's like, yes, I researched it on ChatGPT, and it told me those are the forms that I needed. Pardon me. And so I asked him for them, but he hasn't responded to me yet. I'm like, oh, well, you're doing all the right things, but once you end that relationship, I can help you out. Well, then, like, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, she comes back and she says that he released me from the MLS, but he's not filled out the form to release me from him. And he says the only way he'll release me from him is if I pay him $6,000 for his expenses of the listing.
There's no way.
I'm like, how is your listing $6,000? Especially if you took his pictures with a cell phone.
That's what I'm thinking.
And he was even charging her for $85 per name writer. So he was going to put 3 name writers up to get people to the house, and he was charging her $85 per name writer.
The one that he's going to reuse
again and again. Yeah. And then the sign, and then his time of coaching her to get her house ready for market. He was charging her hourly for that.
Wow.
Yeah, which I didn't know we could do that.
I had no clue.
Yes.
Now we're like consultant fees.
And lesson learned for me, I didn't realize that you could hold a house hostage. Like in my mind, if someone's signing a buyer's agency agreement with you, or if someone's signing a listing agreement with you.
Yeah.
I always thought that if someone wanted to fire you, they could fire you, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
so now it makes me think a little differently. Like, so for people getting into contract, well, maybe it is better for you, unless you know, like, and trust someone.
Yes.
Maybe it is better to take a shorter term, and then you can renew it,
Right.
opposed to being stuck with somebody who would be horrible.
That
right?
is
Like,
true.
Like
Yeah.
I really had no idea, and she ended up taking him to court, and actually, I probably cost her closer to $7,000 to take him through court.
Okay.
And finally, they settled on $1,000, and he signed off that he will not come after her for anything else. But in this process, it was horrible. I kept saying to myself, if he would put half the effort towards finding new clients,
That's right.
opposed to
Yeah.
badgering this one lady, like he would have probably made 10 times the amount of money.
Exactly.
But he was calling me too, like, and her lawyer had said, do not communicate with him. Like, this problem is between her and him. It's not has nothing to do with the house.
Right,
So, for her, if he were to win in court, the worst thing would happen is she would have to pay him his part of the commission,
Right.
in addition to paying me and the new buyer's agent.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Yep.
But the struggle for her was just real. And when he tried calling me one time, and he was saying, because we eventually did list it once the lawyer said we were good to list it. And then when we listed it, he called me, and he was like, "Oh, Bobbie Jo, the craziest thing happened. I took the house off the market temporarily because the client, I guess she wanted to upgrade it and make it look nicer. So we took it off the market for a while, and then lo and behold, I see you have it listed, and I already have an agreement with her, and go ahead and give me a call, and we'll work this out." But I'm like, it was just
What?
weird knowing. He read the emails, right? He
Yeah.
knows he was fired, and she was
The
saying she's unhappy.
disconnect. Yeah.
Yes. Well, then I blocked his phone number, and a couple of days later, I'm driving and happened to be with my husband, and he calls me again, but I don't recognize the number.
Oh,
So I
okay.
answer, and he's like, "Hey, Bobbie Jo, I was just trying to get a hold of you because we had a situation, and I wanted to give you the courtesy of talking to you before I turn you into the MLS."
Oh, nice.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Passive aggressive there.
Yeah. I found out already that I didn't do anything wrong, and it wasn't temporarily off the market. You were fired, and you need to talk do with a lawyer or with a client or your broker,
Yeah.
right? Like, it had nothing to do with me.
Right.
But he was just like, blah 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 blah. Like,
And at this point, they hadn't gone to court.
no, they had lawyers involved, but they had not gone to court yet. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, but it can. The point of the story, though, is it can get that ugly. And for myself, trying to help people in the future,
Yeah.
I think that, like, a lot of people will sign, on buyer agencies agreements. They'll sign a 1 day or a one house one.
Yes.
And it's a pain in the butt for us to have to keep filling those pieces of papers out.
It is.
But I think, after knowing the story, I almost would advise people, until you have a relationship and that someone has good communication, or you feel that someone has your back,
Yeah.
then, maybe that is the better thing to do. And
Absolutely.
I do not like to sign like a 3-month listing agreement, because I feel like we need 6 months,
Yes,
right?
easily in this market. Yeah.
Yes, but also on the flip side, though, I mean, until you get someone's trust, maybe it's not a bad idea to do 3 months,
Right.
because you're not going to lose a whole entire season or market
Right.
if you have the wrong person.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
learning how horrible it was from that last client, I'm like, well, I guess the resolution is, to protect yourself as a buyer or a seller,
Right.
to sign shorter timelines so you're not stuck in these contracts.
Yeah.
Because really did not know that we could hold people hostage.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. And I've always came from the mindset of just like, if you don't want to work with me, that's fine. And I don't want to work with you. Let's cancel the listing and move on. Most of the time people are canceling. I don't know that I've ever had any, but I had one cancel that was disgruntled, and I canceled it, not her. But you do get those where every now and then you just have somebody you just feel like we're just not a good match, And I just recently actually signed a shorter listing term because I didn't know how I felt about working with him. And so I was like, hey, I only do 3 months, and let's see if we mesh well together. Just because that first meeting was just very aggressive. I sold his place with no problem, but it was just one of those things. You just don't know. Sometimes when they come in really hot out the gate, you're just like, I don't know if we're going to be a good fit. But it ended up working out. But yeah, that definitely is a thing where I didn't realize that people fought that. I just feel like that's just a no-brainer to me.
For sure.
We both sleep at night,
yes.
knowing that we don't want to work
and I
together.
got into real estate too to make things better, because for myself, we had horrible real estate agents, and I just did it out of desperation because we were just tired of being in the dark, right?
Yes.
So once I realized that it was going to become a career, I mean, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But it came into career, but once it started becoming more productive, I should say,
Yeah.
that I was like, okay, I have to make sure that no one ever, ever, ever feels the way that we felt when we were having crappy agents, right?
Yes,
So it's like,
sure.
I always try to go above and beyond to make sure people are well informed, you know, and don't be wrong, I've had oopses or
Of course, we all have.
situations where I learned stuff.
Yeah.
But whenever I do have an oops where I make a client is not happy with me, I try to reflect like, okay, you know, as myself or the team, like how can we have this never happen again?
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I just had that recently where I had somebody write a contingent offer. This is still learning. I mean, 20 something years and we're still learning.
Oh, for sure.
You know, things come up and contingency have made a comeback. So I was dealing with a contingent buyer, and we ended up getting an offer on their home, and I let the agent know that we received this offer, but the closing date was extended. It was it was shorter. I'm sorry. So the closing date was, say, 3 weeks versus the contract, I think, says anything shorter than 30 days. I have to read it again. I'm sorry. It's just something I don't remember.
I think if it's shorter than 30 days,
you have to give notice to the seller to let them know that, you know, you're accepting this. And I did not. The house was vacant. It wasn't a big deal. But I ended up speaking to Eric, the other designated broker at Skyline. It was a weekend. And I remember just being in panic mode that I was like, hey, Eric, I don't feel like I missed something, and I just want to send this over. Can you put some eyes on it? He looked at it and he was like, Zanika, you messed up. Anything under 30 days required the seller's notice, and you didn't give them notice of this, right? And I said, I did not. He's like, yeah, this is a problem. And so we kind of went into this whole panic mode over that whole situation. It all worked out. I don't even think that buyer ended up sticking. I ended up, that buyer walked away somewhere midway through, and then we ended up getting another buyer. But I just remember that feeling but I wanted to make it right. And I got on the call with my buyer/seller to let them know, hey, this is where I messed up and I'm taking ownership of this. And if something were to happen to your earnest money, just know that I will cut you a check and I will make things right, you know? So it's constantly we're learning, but it's all about taking accountability. It's all about making it right when we can. And we're not perfect. You know, things are going to come up, and some things are out of our control, and some of them are our oopsies. And
yes, I think that we do. I do that a lot too. Like put my money where my mouth is.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
Like, it's like if someone's going to pay the price, it'll be us.
Yes, 100%. Which I think that's why we thrive in this industry, and I think that's why we're always on top producers list, because we do go beyond. You know, this is more than just my ego. This is more than just, you know,
it's changing the world, making it better in real estate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sure. And that's why I think that this, you know, everything going on with AI, it is scary, because I think that it is going to change the way real estate is done. And I think that there will be those that tend to lean towards using those tools. But I also think that those that really need that hand holding, those first time home buyers, that the person that can't go to dad to ask these questions. And dad doesn't trust AI, by the way, because he's never going to trust AI. But, you know, they're always going to want that relationship. They want to know that they can call an agent at 8 o'clock at night when they're in a sweat and wondering, did I miss something, or should we do this or whatnot? So I think we'll be around for a while.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I feel like for myself, the people that I rely on the most too, that as my team partners, like, you know, say a painter or our cleaners or our lenders, they're all like-minded, as in like, okay, you know, we'll rush and get this done, or you can call them, like you're saying, on the weekends, and they'll answer the phone and help solve our problem.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And there's always going to be that. There's always going to be a need to just hop on a call. Hey, I need to know that you can get over there and take care of this leak that's going on. You know?
For sure.
And that's just, you can't replace that. You can't replace that. So
it's funny. My assistant, when she first came to me 2 years ago, I think that she thought that real estate was just great. She's like, "Oh, I'm so excited about staging, and
fun.
This is gonna be so fun."
Yeah.
And then she realized so quick how many moving parts. She's like, "You're not forgetful." She told me this one time. She's like, "You're not forgetful. You just have so many things coming at you all day long." She's like, "It's hard to keep them all straight." So it's like I think she best serves me when we were just together all day long, because she's just a second brain.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I just need you to be my sticky note writer. Like, just write my little notes all day long, so that I can keep on top of this stuff. Yeah.
So I recently had this is a new oops on my part, but a couple weeks ago we had, well, first off, I had a client. They were a referral for me from an out-of-state agent, but her agent and sweet friend had moved to Squim, and then his son had passed away in Bonnie Lake, so she's trying to find a local Bonnie Lake realtor.
Okay.
So, but she's trying. It was a really sensitive situation because the son had just passed away.
Okay.
The gentleman who was the actual client, the father of the son who passed away, had just had surgery, and and he's older, and so she's like, I really need someone who's going to slow down and go at his pace and just go the extra mile for him. I'm like, well, I think you found her.
Yes.
So then we get to the house, and the house. It still had a lot of stuff in it. And so we organized having dump runs done and Goodwill dump runs done and organized a cleaning and this seller was remarkable to work with. I mean, he was very great. Well, when we finally got an offer, it came up, they were saying that the roof needed to be replaced and there was a problem with the sewer line. And so then my suggestion was, I don't trust the sewer line because, it was their inspector. I think that we should have a professional sewer line person come out here and look at it. So I was working on that. And I don't know if it was just the time of year or what, but we were having problems getting the sewer people to actually get out there and do the scope.
Okay.
And so it was like several phone calls trying to track people down. And so then in the meantime, I had a roof. The buyer's agent had someone come and give a roof estimate. I had my preferred roofer go out and give an estimate. And my seller was like, you know what, even if this offer doesn't go through, we need to get the roof done. So let's just do the roof.
Okay.
And it's before the buyer even asked for it. He's just saying, let's just do it. So he signs a contract with my roofer, and we're going to have a roof. He's making room in the schedule to do our roof on Monday. He's bumping another client. And that's another the power of having these preferred partners you work with, right?
Yes.
They do things like that.
Yes.
Well, anyhow, so that's going. This is on a Friday, or on a Thursday. So on Friday, I'm still juggling other files, but I'm still hounding these sewer people because they finally came and did the scope, but they can't send us the scope because it was too long of a file or something, and it wouldn't download. So they're going to send a new truck out on Monday. And so so I'm working with that. Well, I'm on the phone with the seller, and we're talking, and first off, the other agent called and said, we don't want you to install the roof. We just want this credit. So they finally sent us over the 35R, and they want a credit for the roof, and they want us to fix the sewer line, and then they'll be happy. They'll close. Okay. So we're talking it through, and the seller's like, okay, it's fine. Let's do that. But then he says, and then the phone call, I say, can you call the roofer? I'm going to get back on the horn with the sewer people, right? And we'll get this organized. He's like, no problem. Well, on Monday, I start my morning by calling the sewer people because we still don't have that done. Yeah. And while I'm on the phone, they tell me we're going to try this afternoon to have somebody out there. And I'm like, this afternoon, I want it done now. Yeah. Well, then I hang up. My phone is ringing, and I answer it, and this is so and so for the sewer scope. So there was a team out there already. He's like, but I can't get in the driveway, Bobbie Jo, because there's a roofing truck in the driveway removing the roof. I'm like, what? So anyhow,
Who was the roofer that came by? Was it your roofer?
It's the one who signed the contract with the seller. Oh. But the seller never called. And I'm thinking instantly that I made a mistake. And in my head, I'm thinking, if I have to, I'm buying a roof, right?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
So in my head, that's what's happening. But then I tell the sewer scope people, please go around the truck and please do everything you can to just go, because we need the scope done. We've been waiting since Thursday. So they're working on that. But I had to go call the seller, and I'm processing before I call him. I'm like, well, ultimately it was my job. I should have double checked and made sure the roofer was done. I could have easily sent a text to my preferred roofer and said, sorry, this one was canceled. We'll have another one coming. Right. But I was so focused on that sewer for him. Yes. But also that same day, I had my sweet Amber assistant made a mistake, and she sent the photographer to the wrong house. Oh no. And then we had another photographer for another house that didn't show up, or he overslept, didn't show up. Oh boy. So I'm having these other phone calls and trying to juggle these other
life. That's life of real estate.
It was just a day. You should have gone back to bed, but I was processing, and when I called my seller, I didn't say, oh, it's too bad you didn't call the roofer and cancel. I called him and said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake, and there is a chance the buyers can back out because they didn't want this roof. They wanted their own roof, and this is what's going on with the sewer scope. And I'm waiting for, like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking he might fire me. There's a chance that he could just fire me, but he didn't. He's like, Bobbie Jo, you've been going down your way for us, and if they back out, they back out. We have a new roof, and he just handled it so sweet, and I really appreciate his kindness, because I was like, I didn't want to be the thorn in his transaction. Right.
He's already going through a lot. Personally. Yeah. It's tough. I mean, we wear so many hats. It's really hard, and we have all these balls we're trying to keep in the air all the time.
Yes.
And so that's why I really embrace slow times. So when I have down times, I really embrace them because I know the crazy's coming. Like it just is a matter of time. Every single time, every year, same story. So I learned to embrace the slow times,
Yes.
because they don't come often enough. So, but yeah, I do. I know exactly what you mean when you're like, did I forget something? Or I know I forgot something, or, and this is on me and I just need to make it right and communicate. I mean, that's what it comes down to is communication, hopping on the phone and owning up to it and seeing what we can do to put our heads together to move forward. And
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
For sure.
I feel like
in that situation, they still bought the house, but I had to pay $250 for them to come out and have their inspector re-inspect the roof.
Okay.
And that made them happy. But
that's a good solution.
Yeah, it was a good solution. But I was surprised that their inspector, though, was charging that much to come out and re-inspect because he wasn't doing a whole inspection. Like the whole inspection is $600, and you were only there for like 20 minutes. But oh well, it made it okay.
Yeah, that was
write the check.
Yeah, that's one of those like, here you go, whatever it takes, just to make sure we get to the closing table.
Yes. But just because for myself in that situation, because it was so sensitive, right? Like it was such a sensitive situation. Like you just want to have everything just run perfect for those people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been there. I've been there. And I mean, this was probably a few years ago. I had a client that ended up, I knew the 35R was due. And I knew the time it was due. I just lost track of time. And this was 100% on me because the agent actually did call me and says, hey, Zanika, where's that 35R? Well, I didn't see the message because my husband was deployed. I had the kids. I'm just trying to get things done. And he was gone. So like usually if he's got the kids, I know, okay, I can relax and be focused on work. But I just did not have the opportunity that particular week. So I ended up missing the deadline. I actually got the 35R to her at like 9:05, and it's due by 9. So I was dead in the water. I had no leg to stand on, and I was hoping that she'd extend a little grace and be like, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'll still get it over to the seller, and we'll get this fixed." She was like, "You missed the cutoff," and he's been tracking it. And he texted me at 8:59 asking, "Where's the 35R?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So I ended up just having, when my husband got back, he was like, "Just give me the punch list. I'll get over there." And once again, he had to jump in and make it happen. Save the day, look like a hero. Not all heroes wear capes, So that was one of those situations. So.
Oh, how nice to have him on your tool bag, though.
100%. And I use it all the time.
Well, just like having a team, to support you in the workforce, and like having your team, like your marital partner, like it making you look at it benefits both of you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is for the greater good of the family. That's what I tell him all the time. So we do what we have to do.
Oh, yeah. We're on that same boat, 100%.
Yeah.
Anywho, moving right along.
Yes.
Can we take a quick break? Yeah, in our industry, we work with also amazing realtors, and I feel like when we are so blessed to have another amazing realtor on the other end, that the transaction goes so much smoother.
100%.
But there was a situation where we were representing hostile, divorcing clients who hated the house. They hated each other, and it was so hard, and everything was so delayed because there was no communication, and it was just delayed on getting them out or taking care of things. But with the other agent support, I would just be honest with them and say, my sellers have not been responding. We're trying to get this door repaired or whatever it is. We ended up taking a door ourselves. We had to drive it to Tacoma to get it fixed because we couldn't find a new one. So we had to fix that door. But she was so gracious, as in like keeping the contract together. Like she was informing her people, like, hey, we're working on this together. We're going to solve the problem.
Yeah,
not scaring them like, hey, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
But with that great communication both ways, we had a file that could easily have fallen apart.
Oh yeah.
But by working together, we were able to close it, and also, we were able to close it and close that chapter for my clients.
Yeah.
But then also we were able to close it and have her first time home buyers actually have a nice house. My clients actually left that house in a mess, and we went and checked it before they got keys. They were getting keys on the next morning, but it closed around, I think it closed like the very last hour, like 4:30.
Okay.
So by 6 o'clock, we were down there just to check on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I called my team. I'm like, I'm going to need everybody's help.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. But they left so much stuff there. It took the back of 2 trucks in a dump trailer of stuff, and we were there to like 10 o'clock at night.
Insane.
Yes.
Insane. Yeah, that's just another thing to add to the list of things we do. But
Yes.
I definitely, I do feel like when you have somebody else on the other end that's just willing to put their heads together and come
for
up
sure.
with a solution, it makes all the difference in the world. Like for you, for everybody, just all we have to do is come up with a solution. But, I think agents get so caught up in the emotions. And I think that's where we have to remove ourselves from the situation. We are the level-headed ones in this thing. We're following the contract, and that's what we need to do is stick to the contract. What are the terms? And, make sure everybody's staying within that timeline. But in addition to that, it's just remove the emotion from the transaction. And there's some times where I take on the burden of that emotion. I might lose it. I might scream into a pillow, but when I answer that phone, it's going to be like, this is Anika, So, I definitely feel like you do when you're working with an amazing agent, you remember that agent.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you remember them, and you look forward to their little text or call on another listing. It's like, let's do this again. So
it makes a huge difference. I don't mind. Also, I have no problem working with other new agents. You know,
for sure.
As long as they're transparent that they are new. Like, I don't mind. Like, one time an agent was like, about a response I had. I'm like, oh, have you not dealt with this yet? And they're like, to be honest, no. And I was like, well, if I was talking to my seller, these are the two options that I would give them,
Yes.
and feel free to talk to your designated broker too.
Yeah,
but this is how I would present it. Like, it's not a deal breaker. Don't look at it that way.
Right.
But just look at it as presenting the options and being transparent with your seller and letting them know.
Yeah, absolutely.
What their options are, because then they're going to make the best decision for them.
Yes. Yeah. I just had one like that, and the guy was new, and I think this was probably his third transaction. And just the fact that he was just so humble, he was just like, this is all new to me. I've never run into this. I know that I have my broker to speak to, which was great because I can only give so much information before I'm like, you need to probably check with your broker to make sure. But at the same time, it just flowed. It was one of the best transactions I've had in a very long time, and he was very new. So, and one of the things that I find that I do is, and this is probably a fault of my own, but I make my inspection responses so wordy because I'm like, I want to make sure they know, hey, if you're going to repair a wall, I want light kind paint, texture, and all of that. And it's extremely wordy. And I think it turns people off, and they get scared when they see that because it's paragraphs. And so sometimes I run into that. And when it's a new agent, I feel like I really need to let them know, hey, I am just letting you know, I write my inspection responses very wordy so that there's no gray area.
But you probably do that now, though, because you've been burned before,
Yes,
right? And so
absolutely.
you learned, and that's how you're resolving that problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, as you're saying, I'm like, I don't do that. I probably should do that. I never had that problem before, but you could easily walk in and the wall was beige and they just painted the area white.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And actually, one of the times that it happened to me was on my own rental property that I was selling. It was a duplex, but it was in north end of Tacoma, and it was they had their whole committee for architectural, and you had to stay within certain guidelines or whatnot for the era that the home was built. And so we had to replace the rafters on the roof, which was fine. We did that, but they required a certain type of rafter. It's like a certain kind of wood and all of that stuff that they required a design. And we did all of that, but they didn't say paint. So we put it up, and then I didn't even think about it because I just kind of walked away from the whole situation. I was just like, oh, okay, well, I'm done. I've done my part. I put the rafters up. Well, then that's when the buyer came to us and says it has to be painted. And I was like, wait, the contract doesn't state that. And so where I learned to make them wordy was because of Tasha, which she used to work at Skyline. She was a designated broker there many years ago. And I love Tasha because I learned so much from her. But one of the things that she told me was like, they didn't tell you that you have to paint it. They didn't even say what kind of paint or what color paint. So you technically don't have to.
Right.
I painted it just because I wanted to make it right and move on. But that's just one of those things where I learned from somebody else's mistake, but there are times where you just want to make sure it's very clear, just so that I'm not out there on a Saturday painting because I don't want to make this right later. So I do it for that reason too.
Well, for myself, when you're listing, I think that's part of the importance of doing homework and doing the pre-walkthrough for listings.
Yes,
is to make sure that those things are taken care of. Like I just recently had one where a dad had passed away. We had this little house, but he had used the wrong type of plywood. But he was just enclosed in, like, under the eaves. You know, when you look up and you see the rafters, he enclosed it with the wrong plywood, so it looked all moldy and gross. But it had nothing to do with the structure of the roof or the eaves. It was just that crappy plywood that they used. But if I wouldn't have had them remove it, it would have been a problem. Like everyone would have thought that the roof was rotting off, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And you're just getting ahead of it.
Yes.
Which is half the battle, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, I always tell people, let's get ahead of this so that we're not, because what they're going to do is require you getting somebody licensed and bonded, and, you know, then the list gets really long. So,
It does.
Yeah.
When you're doing your listings, do you get resistance from your sellers to do the homework?
Sometimes. I did run into this recently where somebody, I knew that the roof needed to be replaced, and I told them, and he was like, yeah, we'll just wait for the inspection. And of course, we lost a buyer because the buyer was just like, I want this roof replaced. And then they came back the next day and was like, you know, we don't want it replaced. We don't want it at all. We don't want the house. So they walked away. And so we lost our buyer. And it's like, had you just put the roof on?
Right.
You know, now we're back to square one. And it's like little things, especially little things where I know we should just do it so it's not an issue later. Those are the ones that drive me the most crazy. Because I'm like, let's just get ahead of it.
Yes.
Just get it done, you know. Well, I want to give them something that they can do on the inspection. Well, I don't. So let's just
Well,
get
roof's
it
a
done.
big deal, especially now with insurances being so picky.
Yes.
I mean, roofs are a big deal because
They are.
potentially if you don't do it, then the insurance could be denied and the deal's dead too because they can't get insurance.
Yeah,
Or at least
absolutely.
affordable insurance. They can
Yes.
get triple the cost insurance.
Insurance. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
We had it on a podcast. We had an insurance advisor on here, and she was saying that if a roof is over 10 years old, then they will not insure on it. So I'm like, well, what if you have a
Really?
50-year roof? And they're like,
Yeah.
well, if you say it's 10 years old and it's a 50-year roof, they still won't insure on it. So I'm like, well, so if I'm advising anyone who's getting a new roof, you should say just to go for a 20-year roof because they're not insuring for over 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and these policies could change, right?
Right.
But also they're looking at these really fancy aerial shots of your home now from
Yes.
satellites. And so she also said if you have branches going over the roof or if you have moss on the roof, it's an automatic denial.
Really?
So from that, you know, if you go into a listing appointment, it's super important to look at the roof and to know, you know, I would address that by sharing that information with the seller.
Yeah.
But
for
if
sure.
you're representing buyers, you know, I would not even have it be part of my inspection report because you want it to be taken care of sooner. I would say within the next, 10 days, have your roof cleared off of the moss before the
Yeah.
inspection or 5 days, whatever.
Whatever the case may be, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just all of these things to have in our heads to help,
Yes.
to help, and that's being proactive, right? Because we don't want it to become a problem later. You'd
Yeah.
rather it be addressed and be started and working on it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially if they really like the house, right?
Yeah.
If you're representing the buyers, it's like, it's great, except for, there's just some branches over the roof, so we know we can't get insurance on it.
Yes, let's get everything done. Yeah, no, and I definitely feel like things are always evolving and changing, and we've been in this long enough to seeing all the ebbs and flows of real estate, and I'm trying to stay on top of it, but it's always nice, like you said, to be able to pick up a phone and have an insurance agent, like you had somebody on the podcast, or you can just call them and say, hey, I would like to run this by you and see if this can be an issue. Let's get ahead of this stuff,
Yes.
So that's
It is.
awesome.
It is. I feel like in our industry too, like probably something that I'm struggling with the most is like trying to stay upon the technology, like all the social media stuff that we're
Yes.
supposed to be doing.
Struggling.
Yes.
Like 100% struggling over here
Yes.
with that. Yes.
Well, thankfully we hired Baby Hippo to represent us, but
Yes.
and that's definitely helpful. But I think that you're supposed to just on top of that be doing so much more. It's like I'm just trying to sell houses.
That's it. That's it. I don't even think about my social media for sure. And, it's just, like you said, thankfully we got Baby Hippo and they're young.
Yes.
And they like that stuff versus me who is like, I'm just trying to remember, did I take my medication this morning, my vitamins? So, like, not trying to remember if I posted something on social media. Was that today or yesterday? I don't know.
Then I think the part of being a more mature agent is I don't stress anymore about deals falling apart. Like,
Yes.
I'm like, we're comfortable. We're still eating.
Yes.
We're not working so much for the money. In the beginning, I always stride myself on not looking at commission. Like when I go out and look at houses, I never had the idea of what the commission structure was ever.
Right.
But recently, one of my rookie agents put together an offer and I overlooked it. And again, I don't ever look at the commission line,
Yeah.
but that was dumb of me. And I learned from that transaction because they were offering 2.5% commission, but she didn't put anything in the second box of what we're asking for.
Yes.
And so then once they said yes, they'll take our client's offer, Then we realized that, there was no commission there. And so then we spoke with them. They're like, oh, well, instead of 2.5%, we're willing to pay you 1.5%, but we're not willing to pay 2.5% because you didn't ask for it. So lesson learned to me, right? We should look at the commission structure. But
that's a hard lesson learned.
it is a hard lesson learned. But like I was telling my client, my agent on my team, I'm like, that bad is just as much on me as it is you, because I didn't catch it. When I look through all the numbers, I'm looking through all the things that affect our client,
right?
Not the thing that affects us.
Yes.
But you can guarantee I won't make that mistake again.
Absolutely.
Right? But I wish though that more agents were more driven by just taking care of people,
Absolutely.
because the money will come.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, like, if deals are falling apart, whichever party I'm representing, I feel bad for them on that part.
Right.
But the money does come eventually, right?
Yeah,
so you're just not so worried about it. You're just like, let's just take really good care of people, and they'll keep coming back to you or refer to you.
Absolutely.
But since that's changed since that change on our first page of our purchase and sale agreement, though, where we have to disclose how much money we want to be paid, now I will not make that mistake again.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely. It's such an easy thing to miss, too, because like you said, we just kind of make sure that we have the terms correct for the client.
Yeah.
You don't think about that. What am I being paid on this transaction? You just want to just make sure it all goes through for them. And it was just it was never an issue. So now it's always like in the back of my mind after Skyline sent those emails reminding agents, make sure that you're filling out. Remember, I don't know if you remember, they were hounding us for like every 2 days. They would send a message. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you're filling out that second section. Now I'm a little bit more mindful of it, but before it was never a thing, ever. And it's just interesting that we just keep evolving in this business. But like you said, we're coming from a place of no longer having to be stressed about the deals and the money. It always comes. You do right by the client, it will always come, rather in a form of a referral or something. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be on this side of this industry 20 years later versus those trying to jump into it today. It's brutal out there.
It is brutal. I would say it's brutal just because there's logistically so many things have changed, I think, in our industry. And
absolutely.
So, yes. And the contracts have changed, and I think it's nice having for the inspection response. I remember the good old days when we used to send the whole entire report and be like, hey, all of these things are wrong, but we're only asking for this
thing.
How nice are we? But now if you send that whole entire report over to someone,
automatically
you're waiving your right to ask for anything.
Absolutely.
So that's a big deal.
As an old timer, just trying to remember these things that are changing is tough. I'm like, what changed? Wait, can we send it? Can we not send it?
Yes.
Like, it's so much. Yeah. And that's actually brings me back to that agent that was new. I just told him, I say, hey, you sent over the inspection report. Just so you know, like, this would have avoided it. You know, you would have just waived your inspection. But I want to work with you. Let's see what we can do to make sure that your client's happy and my client's happy, and we got it to the closing table. But those are the things that, newer agents just really, you need to stay on top of these things and the changes, because we that are programmed a certain way still have to stay on top of it. So it's just as important for newer agents to stay on top of it.
Think about your story right there, though. Because you could have easily been like the jerk agent who's like, sorry, you didn't send it in on time. But then you could have potentially, too, lost a client, because if they would have said, like, oh, these are, I'd rather lose my earnest money because these things are a bigger deal.
Right.
They could have walked, right?
Right.
So
absolutely.
then I think that you're protecting both parties that way by saying, like, let's work through it and move forward.
It's for the greater good of everybody. Like, they want the house. My seller wants to sell it to them. Let's just make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was just just one of the many things.
Well, and it's happened to my assistant had reminded me. She's like, you have corrected other agents because other agents have sent you something, and the second box wasn't filled out, and you have told them, like, well, we'll keep putting good in the world. Because,
absolutely.
And my seller was offering, say 2.5% or 3%, and so we're like, hey, you missed this box. Do you want to fix it before I present it to my client?
Absolutely.
And that other agent could have done that for us, but they didn't.
Which is so terrible, but whatever.
But it's learning. What do we learn? Yeah. We're learning to check that box.
Yeah, check that box. Definitely. Before you send it. And there's times where I upload it, I'm like, wait, did I check that box? Let me go back in and check. To make sure. It sticks with you. Certain things stick with you. That happens to be one of them.
Well, and we could have easily been paid zero on that one.
Yeah.
But on that particular transaction, it was a referral of clients' kids, and so like, you just want to take care of those kids, right? Like
Absolutely.
I don't want them to be worried about our commission. I want them just to buy their first house and to feel like they were taken care of.
Absolutely.
So we could have been paid zero to do that, but again, it would have came back to us later.
Tenfold.
But yes,
Tenfold.
but we just learn and we grow, don't we?
And we just roll with it. We just roll with it, the changes and all. Yep. So here we are.
Here we are. Well, let's go make 2026 be the best year yet.
Let's do it.
Let's go
I'm
change
excited.
the world.
I'm excited.
Let's
I'm
do it.
excited for it. Yes.
All right, I'll see you on Thursday at the top producer meeting.
I'll see you there.
All right, thanks for coming again.
Yes. Thank you for having me.